Hey, what's up, YouTube world? It is your girl here, the Venusian Bull, and I am back with another video. And in this video, I am going to be discussing the astrological forecast for the month of February 2020. So I hope you guys are excited about this. I know that there's been a lot of talk on social media and a lot of memes going around about all of the mess and all of the tragedy and trauma and heaviness that we had to deal with in the month of January. And people were saying, January was a long ass year and, want to do a redo on 2020 with February. I mean, that Saturn Pluto conjunction, which again is something that only happens around every 32 to 34 years or so, really, really shook things up, personally for people and globally for people. I know personally I had to go through some tragedy in terms of death in my family, and globally and societal wise, there was a lot of deaths that were just happening. Like people, were dying. And, as far as, kind of the biggest death that happened, was, NBA superstar Kobe Bryant dying in a helicopter crash last week with his daughter and 7 other victims. So it was just crazy. I mean, it was unbelievable. Everybody was in shock. And, this has just been a very, very, very tough month to get through. Like I said before, that Saturn-Pluto conjunction was no joke. It's literal death, destruction, karma. Like, that's what it is. So, it's going to bring transformation and rebirth and everything like that, and teach you hard lessons. But it's going to teach you hard lessons, all right, the hard way. So I just wanted to kind of recap that for you for January. But I'm happy that we're in a new month of February. And let's see if we can kind of, lighten things up for the month of February. So I'm only going to be talking about the major transits. I'll go into more detail of all of the individual transits as well as the moon phases when I do my weekly recaps. But the first major transit that happens this month is Mercury going into Pisces, okay? So Mercury, being the sign of communication and information and media, it's also the sign of the mind. It's also the sign of short distance travel and learning. So with it being in Pisces, and Mercury is actually going to go retrograde later on this month. So you're going to be hearing all of the Mercury retrograde stuff from people who like barely speak about astrology. That's going to be happening again. So Pisces energy is very idealistic. It's very creative. It's very spiritual, compassionate, but it can be delusional. It could be full of lies. It could be forgetfulness, neglect kind of. So with Mercury being in kind of the absent-minded sign of Pisces, you really need to be aware of your belongings. Make sure you're not losing anything, especially anything technology related, media related, like, your phone, or like losing, like passwords and people hacking into your stuff, losing keys, people breaking into your car, because remember, short distance travel, falling asleep while you're driving, and things like that. This is literally a placement where you could legit lose your mind because Pisces has to deal with loss and Mercury has to deal with the mind. So definitely remember that. This is not my favorite place for Mercury, I'm going to be honest, so I'm a tad bit biased. The positive aspects of Mercury being in Pisces is that it's really great for creatives and people who do creative pursuits, music, dance, acting, even in the beauty world, like makeup, film, anything that's along those lines, as well as any spiritual work, whether that be therapy, whether that be actually, going to church, religious spiritual, or spiritual in the more metaphysical sense, like doing astrology or doing tarot readings, candle magic, and things of that nature. It's really good for that. But as far as like the everyday things that you kind of need to do to kind of deal with life, Mercury and Pisces could really, really throw that off. So I'll be talking about the retrograde a little bit later. All right. So just, dot your I's, cross your T's, try to be wary of signing contracts during this time. Just be on alert. Try to, but you might fall into la la land. You might. The next major transit that's happening is Venus is going to be going into Aries. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Mercury will be going into Pisces on February 3rd. Venus is going into Aries on February 7th. So this is going to be a different energy than Venus in Pisces. Aries is a very aggressive, very assertive. They know what they want and they go after it. So in terms of it being so in terms of Venus being in Aries, and when you're talking about love and things like that, this is the go-getter mentality when it comes to love, and what you desire in a partner and in a relationship. This is somebody who's not just going to sit on their ass. So you may see more people who may be really declaring their love for people, and you're like, I never heard you speak like that. I never, hear you, say anything like that before. And the Aries energy is making Venus more confident and more assertive, and maybe even a little bit more bossy. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. This is a sign where look, I love you. Do you love me? Like, so what we gonna do? Like, that's gonna be the energy of Venus and Aries, and it may even come off a little bit combative. It may be a little fighting going on, fighting more with words than physical fighting. But y'all know how Aries is. Aries do like a good fight. You know what I'm saying? So that may happen, but just remember, people are going to be a little bit more assertive when it comes to their desire for people. Okay, so that's definitely going to come about. The next major transit is actually happening on February 9th. So we're actually going to have a full moon in Leo at 20 degrees. I had got the exact degrees, but I didn't write down the time. So let me see here. It's going to be at 20 degrees. So it's going to be early in the morning. Okay, so we're looking at around 3 a.m. This is Eastern Standard Time. So we're going to have a full moon in Leo. And whenever there's a full moon, it's a culmination. There's an ending of something that started that needs to come to an end. You know what I mean? So with the moon being in Leo, this could be love. This could be a relationship with children, any type of relationship with a man. It could be, any type of job where you are considered like a superior figure and things like that. Something, entertainment wise, something is coming to an end with this moon in Leo. But also, this is a time to, with it being opposite the sun in Aquarius, Leo is the all about me energy, and the sun in Aquarius is about come one, come all. This is about all of us. This is about the collective. So there is going to be a little bit of a struggle and like kind of a tug of war between those two energies, like looking out for yourself and looking out for others. So be mindful of that. There may be some people that, stab people in the back, particularly friends, because Aquarius is the sign of friends. So definitely be mindful, and try not to be too big for your britches with that moon in Leo energy, especially because it's the full moon time. So it's going to have a larger effect. The effects of the full moon usually last up to 4 weeks. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so the next major transit is happening that I wanted to discuss. Is happening on February 10th. So I kind of went, oh no, I'm going in order. Okay. It's happening on February 10th. So this is Venus conjunct Chiron. So I just talked about Venus going into Chiron. So Venus conjunct Chiron, this is like pleasure and pain, like literally together, because Chiron does represent pain. It does represent wounds and things like that. It represents healing, but it's always a healing through trauma. It's always a healing through some type of pain or something like that. So like I mentioned, relationships could be coming to an end. I know it's almost about to be Valentine's Day, but some of y'all may not have that Valentine. That's all I got to say about that. With that full moon in Leo happening, and Leo, y'all got to remember that Leo is a sign of love. Leo loves hard. So with that full moon in Leo happening, and things having to come to an end, and then that happening in conjunction with Venus conjunct Chiron, yeah, it's going to be kind of tough to maintain those relationships through Valentine's Day, and there may be some type of tragedy or something tragic that happens that may either bring you closer with the person that you're in a relationship with, or may have you drift, further apart. Because sometimes healing and therapy, brings people closer, and sometimes that means you're seeing somebody's true colors, and you're like, it's been real, but I don't really want to deal with this anymore. This is toxic. This isn't good for me. So you may be figuring those things out as well. Okay, so the next major transit that's happening is going to be on February 16th, and that is when Mars enters Capricorn. So I'm actually quite excited about Mars entering Capricorn. For me personally, I think it's because I have a lot of Earth energy, and people forget that Mars is actually exalted in Capricorn. So Capricorn is actually a great place for Mars. Mars has to deal with, and I always say this, aggression, assertion, being a leader, making things happen. It has to deal with action. It has to deal with work, you know what I'm saying? And motivation and everything like that. And it's, Capricorn is all about that kind of energy, especially when it comes to work. Now, Capricorn is very like, I forget the saying, but it's all about the slow and steady race. The goat takes its time. So this is not a rush to the finish line or anything like that. This is going to be a slow and steady ride. And if you build and if you work at things, and if you're really, doing what you need to do, then you're going to accomplish your goals. So this is a very like persevering kind of Mars placement. And I think that it's going to like collectively be really good for people to get things done, and to not just start things but to finish them, you know what I'm saying? Because that's the problem. When you get so excited about a project, it's difficult for you to finish them. And Capricorn has that energy, knows that things take time, and like Capricorn don't care if stuff takes 10 years to do. They're going to wait that 10 years and they're going to make it happen. So but it's bringing more energy, more of that Capricorn energy back. January was full of Capricorn energy. So we're going to see over the next month and a half or 2 months, Mars is going to make contact, with Jupiter and Pluto and Saturn. So we'll see how that turns out, once it gets there. But that's what's happening on February 16th. Also, what's happening on February 16th, which is what I already mentioned, is that Mercury will be going retrograde. And would you look at that? It looks like it's not going to be it's going retrograde. So that means it's going to go back. So it's not quite going to make contact with Neptune yet. So it's going retrograde at the 12th degree. Okay. And then I'm not sure how far it's going to go back before it's out of retrograde. Let me actually I'm going to move ahead in the future for just 2 seconds, because I just want to see when it goes out of retrograde. Okay. So it's going to be in retrograde until March 9th. And it's going to come out of retrograde at 28 degrees Aquarius. So it's going to go all the way back into Aquarius. So I just kind of wanted to show that kind of dichotomy there. But yeah, I mentioned Mercury and Pisces in general, Mercury and Pisces in retrograde. Only thing I really want to say about this is just be careful of your belongings. Be careful of losing things. Be careful of not seeing things and people for who they really are, especially around this time. Be careful of signing contracts. Actually, I would advise against signing any contracts during Mercury retrograde. Any type of like major dealings, I would advise against. It doesn't mean that you can't completely, but I mean, if you are not checking every single syllable of every single paragraph, every single dotted I, every single crossed T, it's like liable for something to go wrong. And that's Mercury retrograde in general. But Mercury retrograde in Pisces is just, it's very free flowing. It's very no boundaries and things like that. So it's a lot of things that may appear to be concrete, but they're not concrete. Okay. And all the time during Mercury retrogrades, there's always a possibility for technology devices to go astray, to go awry, to mess up your phones, your laptops, your tablets, your game consoles, anything that's electronic that's used for communication purposes, there's always a chance for it to mess up. I know that there's been a lot of instances where Instagram or Facebook would have these outages and they would completely mess up and people would think it's their phone, but it's like something that's happening collectively. And then that's usually the rare instances where I go on Twitter, because I don't be on Twitter like that, and everybody is confirming for me that Instagram is down, Facebook is down. So that's also something that could happen during Mercury retrograde as well. So just be careful. All right. And in the midst of all of this, the sun is entering Pisces on February 18th. So, you know, music, beauty, compassion, love, unconditional love, idealism, spirituality, you know, animals, like just loving on everything is very Piscean at this time. Escapism is very prominent. You know, that's your drinks, that's your weed, you know what I'm saying, or whatever other drugs that you do or something like that. Just remember, therapy is always here, y'all. But it's a beautiful season. Pisces season is a beautiful season. It's a time to really kind of get your creative juices flowing. Anything creative that you were trying to do, whether it is like, you know, especially if it has to deal with like film or like YouTube, because Pisces has to deal with film, or if it has to deal with music, is a really great time to try to kind of embark on those endeavors. Just be kind of wary because Mercury is in retrograde. So you're doing all of this technology related stuff. There may be some issues, but in any event, this is a good time for those things to take place. So the sun is going to enter Pisces, which is going to give a little bit of a light energy going on. So next we're going to have Mars trine Uranus. Okay, and that's happening at the 3rd degree. So this is going to be a really, really great transit. Remember, I already told you about the positive aspects of Mars being in Capricorn. Now with it being trine Uranus and Taurus in at the 3rd degree, just think about this. Money, 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 money. Money. I'm just thinking about surprise money popping out of nowhere. I mean, it may not come in that fashion, but Uranus, Taurus. I mean, Taurus has to deal with money. Capricorn has to deal with work. So you're working and you get money, but you get like more of a surprise or a shock. Remember, this is a trine, it's a positive aspect. So I'm thinking positively in reference to this. So, you know, I'm just thinking a surprise money in the mail. I know people are doing their taxes and things like that. Maybe that's that tax money that's coming and things of that nature. So definitely be cognizant of that. And because this is a trine that's happening between two kind of erratic planets, but they're in grounded earth signs. So that's what makes it that much better, that it's going to actually result in something that's tangible at the end and not just fluff. Like, I believe in this particular transit, and money could result from like an internet business or something that you're doing online, because Uranus has to deal with social media and the internet as well, something technology driven, or you know, anything like that. So keep an eye out for that. And that's happening on the 21st. And on the same day, Mars is going to be squaring Chiron. So while all of this good stuff and good surprises may be occurring, you also do have Mars square Chiron. So you do kind of have to be careful. There may actually be, you know, an actual fight that happens, some actual physical combat, because you have Mars in the equation, and maybe a fighting with words and things like that. This may be something that could hinder you from getting said surprise money or some said surprise, you know, recognition or reward of some sort. But Chiron does represent the wounded healer, and it can deal with being exceptional and being the exception, you know, to the rule. Let's just hope it's not like at the expense of others and things like that, because that's what can happen, especially with Capricorn in the mix, because Capricorn energy is known to be like the sell your soul type of energy, do anything for a buck type of thing. So just be wary of that as well. Let's see. So on February 23rd, there is going to be a new moon in Pisces, okay? It's happening at 4 degrees. I didn't get the minutes. I should have wrote this exactly down so I knew the exact time. But it's going to be happening sometime between 10 a.m. Eastern time and 11 a.m. So no, actually it's closer to 11 a.m. Eastern time, somewhere in there, but it's happening at 4 degrees. And the number 4 is a very, this is a very unconventional number, a very transformational number, a very progressive number. So even though it's in a sign like the idealistic Pisces, it's in very progressive energy, because 4 actually vibrates to Uranus, which is Uranus rules Aquarius. So this is actually really good for like the visionary spirit, and this will be even better for those manifestations and setting those intentions. That's what you do, you know, typically what you do with a new moon, setting those intentions for a fresh start. So you just ended something with that full moon. Now we're setting intentions with that fresh start. And it's a lot of Pisces energy that's allowing you to dream and be magical and like literally accomplish, you know, your dreams. So actually I would say pay attention to your dreams. Their dreams could be where you do manifest something in this new moon. This is gonna be a very, very magical time. Like for real, like if you're thinking something like and you want it to happen, this is the time like it could actually happen. Pisces is that magical. That's the part of Pisces that I really, really do love. And regardless of whether Mercury being in retrograde or not, that's something that could still hold true. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And the moon is going to make a conjunction with Mercury and things like that. So keep that information in mind when you're setting intentions and you are making those manifestations. All right, and on February 25th, the sun is going to be conjunct Mercury. I always like a sun conjunct Mercury. I like a sun conjunct Mercury and Venus. This is happening at the 6th degree. So this is going to kind of enhance the whole magical kind of aspect, but it's going to, you know, put it to work in the mind and in a communicative kind of situation. And this is going to be really communicating in the Pisces way. I'm trying to tell you, you need to write people some songs, write people some poetry, just talking to them regularly. Have some inflections in your voice, and maybe you need to sing a song with a melody. Like you need to talk to somebody with a melody or something like that. This is Pisces. I'm trying to tell you, Pisces are weird and they know that they're weird. It is fine. It is fine. Embrace the Pisces energy, embrace the artisticness that you have. Everybody has that artist inside of them, whether that's in the healing arts, whether that's in the physical arts, the visual arts, the performing arts. Is there really a physical arts? Maybe it's performing arts. I don't know why I said that, physical arts. But shoot, maybe it could mean sports. You know what I'm saying? This is a coming together. This is a communication of coming together. And with everything that's been going on with Kobe in the sports world, I think that this is going to be a very collaborative and a time where people are coming together. I think this is kind of going to be around the time of like the NBA All-Star game. It might be like a week afterwards, but still the energy of Pisces is going to create like this, you know, unconditional love type of atmosphere. So that also works when you're talking about Sun conjunct Mercury, because you're talking about the ego and the personality as it meshes, you know, with the mind and communicating with people. And you're just going to be communicating with people on a more compassionate level. So that's just really the gist of it. And the last important transit that I wanted to discuss is Venus square Pluto. Now, this is going to be happening on February 28th at the 24th degree. And the 24th degree is actually a pretty nice degree. It's harmonious. It actually vibrates to Venus, but this is a square, okay? And remember what I was talking about earlier in the month, that there may be some relationships that come to an end, some relationships that are toxic. Try not to hold on to those toxic relationships, because Venus square Mars, I'm sorry, Venus square Pluto, that could be very manipulative energy, very controlling energy in a relationship. So it's definitely not something that you want to say. Very obsessive, compulsive, like, I want this person, I have to be with this person, I have to be with this person all the time. This is the whole, oh, who you with, where you going, what you doing, I need to go there, oh, I need to be there, oh no, you can't go with them, no, you can't go to that party, no, you can't do this. Like, this is that kind of energy. So be careful with who you are keeping yourself around, especially if they're like a romantic partner, because this definitely brings out the obsessive, compulsive type of energy, and it could in some cases get kind of violent and things of that nature. So just be careful. That Pluto square Venus always, you know, it always scares me, but this can be very good for, like, this is good, you know, for like kind of sexual energy, you know what I'm saying? Because Venus is still in Aries. Venus in Aries is very sexual. You got Pluto in Capricorn. Capricorn, regardless of what y'all think, Capricorn is a sexual sign, especially because Mars is there right now. So, you know, this could constitute as good, you know, makeup sex energy, but that's really like the only positive. This is like that obsessive energy, you know, and with all of this Pisces energy happening, you could be in that la idealistic escapism, like, I know he loves me, I know she loves me, and they could be, you know, so toxic for you and doing you wrong. So just be careful with that Venus square Pluto. This is somebody very powerful having an influence on you. So you may be with somebody that's very powerful and things like that. So just be mindful. So that's all of the major transits that I wanted to discuss that's happening in the month of February. I will be continuing to do the weekly videos so you can get a more in-depth look at the week with the moon phases and everything. So thank you so much for tuning in. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and come back to this video in a couple of weeks to see if anything rang true for you, and see, you know, if I'm hitting a nail on the head with this. All right. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, bye-bye.